annual General Aviation Fun Day. We do this event every year to raise money for our scholarship that we give out to 2 young men or women in the area that are very deserving of it, and they are exploring aviation as a career. We also have the playground, which we are building here, an aviation themed playground, which we're raising money for as well.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about I think I remember shooting this event a few years ago when it was much smaller. This has grown like quite a bit. Tell me about that growth.
It has grown in leaps and bounds. Our first year, we think we saw around 700 people. Last year, we saw 7,000, and I would say be surprised if we don't see close to 10,000 today.
Obviously, the weather helps.
The weather does help, but it also helps for the great support that we have from our military, like the Air National Guard that's here, the Coast Guard, the Quonset group that's here, not to mention all the general aviation enthusiasts that are here. We have some great aircraft on static display. We have pilots donating their time to do sightseeing trips over the city of New Bedford and surrounding area. We have the New Bedford Buttonwood Park and the Zoo Chew is here, as well as the antique fire engine rides, a whole slew of classic cars and antique cars here as well. So it's been a really great turnout, and we couldn't do it without everyone.
Tell me a little bit about, it sounds like a little bit of a logistical nightmare getting all this done. Tell me a little bit.
It can be a logistical nightmare, but you know what? This year we had a great planning committee. We take about 20 of us together, 10 of us main core people, but we have such great help that do it. We have to work on getting all the airplanes in. Just the military side of it alone is quite an undertaking, but we have a great team that does it. We also look out to the general aviation public and have them come down with their airplanes. We've had a lot of people fly in this year.
One of the ideas of this is to encourage interest in aviation in youth.
Correct, absolutely. That is our mission and goal, is to educate and open the eyes of the individual to aviation, especially the kids, and I think days like this are a perfect example and a great way to do that.
So seeing some of the faces, the kids are just, their eyes are like the size of their heads.
They are, and especially when the airplanes are doing their flybys or just taking off and landing, the kids are just absolutely enjoying it. So hopefully those are the next generation of pilots, air traffic controllers, and government-related folks.
My name's Lisa Rodriguez. I'm the Vice President of the Atlantic Aviators, the local chapter of Women in Aviation International.
And you're specifically in charge of the fundraising for the playground?
For the playground project, I am the chairperson, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that project.
Okay, it's a project meant to bring more children to the airport and to introduce them to aviation. We're planning a aviation-themed playground. All the parts on it will have something to do with aviation. And it will be located right off of the taxiway and runway so that people can, the kids can be playing on airplanes or in the control tower and pretending while they're watching the airplanes take off and land right outside of the fence.
Is this what part of the fundraising today go towards?
Part of this does. Some of it goes towards our scholarships, which we give to kids going off to college or in college for aviation or related science, technology, engineering, or math trades. Okay. The rest of it, some of it does go specifically the airplane ride revenues, a few other, they have fire truck revenues, and hopefully the way the day's going, hopefully we can put a little bit more over into the playground fund.
So how are you doing on the fundraising, and when do you think they're going to put the shovels in the ground?
The project is $175,000. We've raised a little over $90,000 to date. Hopefully crack $100,000 today would be very exciting. We're hoping to start by this fall, but that would depend. We're currently seeking grants and doing fundraising. Of course, Fun Day itself takes a lot of planning and time, so that pulls us away from that a little bit. But
you need all 175 before you start?
Pretty close. And some of the expensive things are we have a port-in-place surfacing, which makes it many things handicapped accessible, as well as giving us a layout that shows like a runway and taxiway as part of the playground. So some of those things are expensive, and we can't put that in. We can order the equipment if we get to a point, and then maybe next spring install if we need to, but we're trying to get as much as we can so that we can just make it one big project.
Well, you're pretty optimistic you'll get there soon.
We'll get there. We will. It might be, next year might be more likely, but I got to stay positive. So.
Yes, sir. I'm Ryan Nugent. I'm a captain with the 143rd Airlift Wing in the Rhode Island Air National Guard.
And what is this craft behind you, sir?
This is the C-130. Of all the C-130 models, this is called the J model. It's the latest and greatest. It's also nicknamed the Super Hercules because it's an improvement upon previous models of the C-130.
Tell me a little bit about the capabilities of this craft. What can it carry? How far can it go? That sort of thing.
Yeah, you're looking at an aircraft that's capable of carrying 42,000 pounds of cargo. It's got quite a bit of range depending on the altitude, how much you're carrying and the winds, but typically, if you could imagine, you can easily do an East Coast to West Coast type trip. So that's the range you're looking at.
And that's without landing?
And that's one stop on one tank of gas.
And that's
correct.
Loaded?
That's correct, sir. Now, typically though, what you're seeing with this airplane is we do more of like a hub and spoke type operation. So we're typically doing much shorter trips, about 20 or 30-minute legs when we're in the theater of operations, as they call it, as in Afghanistan.
In terms of carrying personnel, I hear that these are definitely rough for personnel.
I wouldn't call it an airline trip. Yeah, it's not going to be the most comfortable ride you've ever taken, but it's going to get you where you're going. Few other airplanes are going to be able to get that many people into the places that this airplane can go. So beggars can't be choosers,
yeah.
But yeah, it's not the most comfortable ride in the back.
How many people could you fit on this if you had to do it?
It depends on their configuration, but you're looking at if you really want to pack them in, you're looking at just over about 120 people. But it's going to be tight quarters, and
so
you won't get much room to move.
And you guys can get everybody in there.
And that is
equipment and all that.
And that is the ideal mission for us: is to bring in a unit of people if we had to in this, bring in cargo for them that's desperately needed, be it vehicles or supplies. Or we can airdrop the equipment as well. We don't always have to land. Our primary mission in Afghanistan was also airdrop. So what we do is we configure the cargo that needed to be delivered with parachutes, open up the back of the airplane that you see back there, and fly over the drop zone, and then let the equipment parachute to its spot.
Now, in terms of, are you guys part-timers or full-timers?
Yeah, we're most of the unit are traditional or what we call part-time guardsmen. So all of us do this as volunteers, and then we also have full-time civilian jobs in the outside world as well that we balance with this. That's correct.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what's your civilian job?
My civilian job, I'm a commercial pilot for my civilian job, as with many of the pilots are, but there's all sorts of different career fields. We have pilots that are police officers, software engineers, all different types of career fields that make up the core of air crews that fly this thing.
And how long have you been flying for the National Guard?
I've been with the Air National Guard now for 11 years, and it's been a great time, and seen a lot of places and gotten to do a lot of things with this airplane. So it's been a great 11 years. The other ones are, as we walk through here, you'll see the engines. These are 4,700 horsepower Rolls-Royce engines that help to get this airplane in and out of those small airports that we talked about, and also help us operate with so much cargo in Afghanistan at those high altitudes that we're operating at in hot weather.
And they say the type of these planes are so good you can like only fly on 2 engines if you had to.
That's correct. If you had to, you could, and we do train in our annual simulators. We do train for exactly such occurrences, obviously hoping that they don't happen, but the possibility is there. Everything on this airplane, in the flight deck at least, is digital. It's even in the cargo compartment over the 1950s version of this airplane, the locks that harness the cargo and help us assist with the airdrops of cargo, all that's computerized as well. So a single loadmaster can operate a lot of those functions from a computer up by the forward flight deck portion of the airplane. So a lot of computers now, exactly right. This particular airplane is a 2005 model. Our oldest one's 1999. So for military aircraft, that's incredibly young airframe. 2005 is very new. As you come in here, you have a lot of the amenities that you have in like a regular airplane. Oh, sorry guys, thanks. But you'll see that you don't have the same interiors that you have in like an airliner. All the insulation that you're looking at there is to keep it warm when we're up at altitude, and all the equipment that the loadmasters and the loading crews need is all just strung about the aircraft. You can see all sorts of turnbuckles and equipment for harnessing the cargo that we carry. This is what you're seeing here is where the landing gear, the massive landing gear is stored. The gear is so big partially to help it land on those unimproved airfields, which is why it's so big. It takes up a little bit of the cargo area here. As we move forward, what you'll see is just for demonstration purposes, we've gone ahead and configured the litters that you'd see in the aircraft typically. If we were in an aeromedical evacuation role, These litters can be configured with as many as 5 high and in 4 separate rows across the aircraft, and wounded personnel could be put on these stretchers to be brought to a bigger airfield that would have hospital services. We did. That's personally, and I know I speak for probably a lot of the crews that we have in Rhode Island, that's one of our proudest missions. We hate to have to do it, but when we're able to help the people that are really fighting the war over there, it makes us feel good to know that we maybe helped get them to a hospital in time.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I'm Jerry Dupont. I'm a safety officer here at the Bristol County Radio Control Club. And we're here today putting on a little bit of a display. Unfortunately, it's a static display, but maybe next year it'll be a flying display as well. Just to let people know who we are, what we do, and what we're involved in as a hobby and a sport. And hopefully to draw some attention to ourselves so we can also get some young prospective flyers.
Okay, let's go to the planes. First of all, you don't have to talk about the planes in specific, but they look pretty big. What's the scale?
These are approximately a 1/4 scale. Some of them are a 1/3 scale. So they're 1/3 the size of the actual airplane.
If I saw these in the air, I might, if I didn't know what I was looking at, I might think they were real, full-size planes.
Absolutely.
And do you tell me a little bit about, do you need a special license to fly these? Or?
Typically, no. You have to be a member of the AMA, which is the Academy of Model Aeronautics.
Okay.
And you're insured up to $2 million. You cannot be a club member unless you're an AMA member. And it is just a discipline you work up to, flying larger and larger planes. And if the field supports this sort of activity, then we, of course, do it.
Now, look, I see you have helicopters over there. These all hand-built by the owners?
No, they are pretty much the way you see them. That is the way they come through. There's probably some assembly, but there is no painting. Some of them are gas, some of them are electric powered.
Tell me a little bit about why you guys like, what's the joy about flying these? What's the thing you get out of flying?
Well, it's almost a Walter Mitty sort of a thing. You get to fly replicas, scale models of anything that actually flies today. It's a lot less expensive, and most of us do this not because we're not flying the full-size thing, but we're a hobbyist at heart. We like building, we like fabricating these things, we love putting them through their paces, and once in the air, it's a beautiful thing. It's very enjoyable. You put on an air show for yourself. I've never gotten sick from any of the maneuvers I've ever done, and quite discreetly, I've walked away from every landing I've ever made.
Where do you guys fly mostly? If people want to see you, can they see you guys do your stuff somewhere? Or?
We have a private field, but sometimes it is open to the public, especially during our fun flies.
And you let people know about that?
We let people know about that. We fly on the Brownell property, which is next to Salvador's Ice Cream on Smith Neck Road in South Dartmouth.
Yeah.
We have a field, runway, startup stands, windsock, all the necessities needed to keep this up and running.
Tell me a little about the stats on these. How fast, how high, how far can these things fly?
Any of these planes will fly virtually till they're out of sight. They have that range. We rarely let them get that far because if you lose orientation, you cannot control it. So we keep them obviously within eye shot.
In terms of speed, how fast do you think they go?
Well, most of these, it depends upon the type of model, how big it is, how heavy they are. The heavier the model, the faster they have to be flown to keep them airborne. But most of the time, they're made as light as possible so you can walk them in for landing approaches and whatever. And it's all tantamount to, again, the weight of the plane.
How, in terms of safety, what's your safety? You obviously practice safety in where you fly in terms of airspace and all that stuff.
That is correct. We have no fly zones. We do not fly over the homes of other people. And all the aircraft are checked out for any safety violations or any things that are amiss. There are range checks so that none of these planes fly out of sight. So we do a whole list of prerequisites here just to make sure that everybody and everything is safely kept in mind.
So you're always looking for new members, obviously.
Well, We have a locked membership of 35 members. That's all the members we can have in the club. We also have a waiting list, but we can only have so many people on the property at any one time.
But in terms of if a young kid is interested, I mean...
We do have youth programs where we have prospective children come up and learn to fly on simulators, and if they can progress past that, we have a club trainer and buddy boxes where we can actually get them to try their hand at it.
Kevin Edgecomb from Heritage Flight Foundation. We're looking at a 1945 TBM-3 Avenger torpedo bomber. It's one of 22 that are left in the United States flying. We took possession of the aircraft 2 years ago through Heritage Flight Foundation, and we try to just basically preserve and restore the antique aircraft of the warbird era.
Now, tell me a little bit about this plane. What was its purpose and what did it do?
This was on the USS Block Island. It's seen a little service overseas. It was a torpedo bomber. It would take one M13 torpedo or 4 1,000-pound bombs.
And tell me a little bit about the Heritage Foundation. How many, do you have a lot of planes?
We have this aircraft that you see behind me. We have a 1941 AT-6. Okay. We have a 47, I believe it is, Bird Dog.
You know, so when you get the planes, do they need a lot of work, or do you?
No, not usually.
So but its upkeep must be tough.
The upkeep is very tough.
They don't make a lot of parts for these?
Yes, they're still available, but not a lot.
No, okay.
Few and far between.
What's the hardest part about the upkeep of a plane like this?
Keeping it flying.
Yeah.
There's not flying it enough, pretty much, you know.
Yeah. So you guys are kind of like the Collins Foundation, the flying?
Yes, similar to that.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to do the same thing, is basically preserve warbird restoration and flight.
That's great. Now, where are you out of?
Out of Westerly, Rhode Island.
And so if people want to see your planes, how do they go about doing that?
Just come to the Westerly Airport pretty much anytime.
Great.
And we're there all.
Do you tour around a lot, or?
We do some shows. We do in Portsmouth coming up, Portsmouth Boston Air Show, Westfield Air Show, Bridgeport, and then Wings over Westerly in September.
Your choice to recycle can affect more people than you think. Call Marissa at 508-979-1493 to request your free recycling bins. This message was brought to you by the City of New Bedford and UMass Dartmouth Charlton School of Business.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
earn your GED diploma, the barriers in your life fall. Take the first step and get free GED information in your area at 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or yourged.org. Earn your GED diploma and begin your brighter future.
Welcome to my block party. Glad you can make it.
The only triple doubles you get come with fries.
Last time you blocked someone, you were online.
I can do this all day. Your moves are just gay.
Using gay to mean dumb or stupid, not cool.
Not cool.
Not in my house, not anywhere. It's not creative, it's offensive to gay people. And you're better than that.
Today is Saturday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.